So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by going to southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Melissa. And I see we have the Belniaks and Krista Collins here. Boy, you know, the last time we spoke about this, we pretty much all decided what we wanted to do was to let the Belniaks continue using the property as they have up until the point where they sell the property. And somehow that turns into, 5 or 6 pages of headache-inducing legalese. But always seems to be the way. I'm trying to think of the best way to get through this.
Then I was going to share my screen. I have 2 copies of the license up, one that I'll keep with the comments and everyone's edits, and the one that I will continuously edit so we can reference both.
That would be fantastic. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to go through the license as well as the comments. But honestly, the comments all seem very reasonable. Okay, if we could scroll down to number 1, we can get started. So Melissa was also good enough to put together numbered, just like the license, a list of her thoughts on this, which is very helpful. So the first one, the cost, I think we had all anticipated a cost of $0. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Okay, I suspected not. Now, number 2, again, this is something that, we even have it in all of our orders of conditions that we issue. Frankly, I've never understood why it appears on just about every piece of town correspondence, because of course everyone's going to obey with local, state, and federal laws. It's, but anyhow, I don't feel that it hurts anything being here. And if town council wants it, then and also I should say to the Belniaks, please, if we're going along too fast, or if you have comments you want to add, please jump right in and stop us so we can hear what you have to say. Number 3. So I guess we're talking about a time frame if there's some sort of damage that occurs to this small parcel that we're talking about. I think last time the general feeling was we're trying not to make this burdensome in any way. I guess to the Belniaks, does 120 days, excuse me, does 90 days sound reasonable? That's the length of a full season. It's difficult to picture this ever being an issue, but is that something that seems reasonable to you, Mr. and Mrs. Belknap?
I think so. My wife's just reviewing the section.
Oh, sure.
That is in the spirit of what I meant by the comment, because what I didn't want to do is, let's say for some reason we damaged the land in that area and you spotted it. I wouldn't want you coming out 2 days later and slapping a fine, because 2 days is just not a reasonable amount of time. I do think a season might be reasonable, but I'm just going to let my wife finish
Okay.
and chime in.
Okay.
Do we,
No.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean.
Oh, no, please go right ahead.
Is there a definition to damage here? Obviously, it's not any natural disaster that's not occurred by us. I just want to be clear. Like if there's a hurricane and a tree falls from our property onto this, obviously we'll remove the tree, but I just want to make sure we're all clear and in agreement.
Yeah, the interpretation of this from the commission's point of view is all about reasonableness, honestly. Like I said at the beginning, I think our hope was, well, our intentions, I feel like, could have been captured in about 3 sentences.
Yeah,
we agree.
Yeah. But here we are. This issue of damage to the property, it's talked about in this one and also in a subsequent one. I forget what number, but it says, it references damage caused by the licensee. Would it help to put in the word licensee shall not directly cause? I don't know.
Well, I think at the very beginning it says licensee shall not cause damage. So to my wife's point of view, if it's a hurricane, if it's something else where we didn't directly cause it,
yeah,
we would remedy the situation, but we don't want someone coming out giving us a fine because it took us 91 days for something that we didn't cause. But if it's something that we caused, I think a season is probably reasonable.
Okay. I mean, I can say as licensor, again, our whole goal in this is reasonableness. Okay. And also, if we continue along and you have thoughts at the end of this on things we've already covered, by all means, we'll jump back. We're not, we can always go back.
I think if we're going to go full legalese here, having worked with lots of contracts throughout my career, I'd prefer to say something within 90 days or mutually agreed upon timeframe.
Perfect.
I'd love to talk about 3 sentences if you'd like to go in that direction, but if we're going to go 6 pages, I think we need to be, we need to add all those appropriate legal comments that help people stay on the up and up as you suggested.
Yeah. Does anyone on the commission? I mean, I don't have any trouble with that at all. Does anyone on the commission have any feeling? I see a thumbs up. Yeah. So I'll take that as a yes, Mrs. Vilniak.
Thank you.
All right, number 4, I don't even know. Apparently, town council finds it necessary, so there it is. Number 5, okay, so here we get to this issue of permanent granite monuments. I was a little surprised to see that in here. I mean, in an ideal world, every property corner in town would be marked with a granite bound. That would be great. But I read, I think in an email that you had gotten a quote on this. And I'm going to guess it was probably $2,500 to get these things installed.
Yeah, there's several $100.
Yeah, no, they're very expensive. And the fact is, the remainder of the parcel, of the overall Halloran parcel, isn't monumented with these things.
No.
And I think it's unfairly burdensome on the Belniaks to ask that they go to this extraordinary length to monument this little corner of land. But I'd love to hear what other commissioners have to say about this. Yes.
Sorry. Hi, it's Krista Collins. Is it
Krista.
okay? Is it appropriate for me to ask the question at this point?
At any time, please jump in,
Okay.
Krista. And welcome,
Thanks.
by the way. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thanks, and sorry, I'm in my car. But
Oh, sure.
I was looking at the plan again today and noticed that it said there was an iron pin to be set at the corner of the conservation land.
Mhm.
can the building is that actually there? Was that actually set?
Yes.
Okay, so then it seems to me there's like two purposes of this section, and one is to make sure that a future homeowner knows where the corner is. So we've covered that by having the iron pin there, and then the other purpose would be to just make sure that the encroachment area doesn't expand at all. So it seems that, yeah, granite, I would agree that granite monument doesn't, like, it's not necessary. And it's really more about like, how do we just make sure that that encroachment area doesn't, inadvertently get expanded. And so maybe just a small fence is the easiest way to go there.
Well, that was actually one of our comments or requests, is if we could fence it, because it would serve two purposes. It would very clearly demarcate from that land would now be public, or is now public, for anyone who's hiking or use it recreationally to know that's the end of the public land, the beginning of private land. It also prevents us or future homeowners from unnecessarily encroaching, or unintentionally, I should say, encroaching on that land. But there was a comment in there about being agnostic to a fence. So we just thought we would ask flat out if we would be permitted to put a fence.
It sounds like a great idea to me. Anybody on the commission have any thoughts?
Seems reasonable to me.
If we were to put a fence, I'm just going to ask right now, just to, if there's a separate discussion for it, that's fine. Would we have to file an A&R, or what would be the process for that?
My knee-jerk response is no.
Okay.
That you simply install the fence, and I'm in my mind, I'm picturing, wooden split rail or picket or something along those lines. I'm not picturing something extravagant. But aesthetically, I mean, it's entirely up to you guys.
Yeah, I don't know the definition of extravagant fence, but I don't think we would put just, 30 feet of fence, right? I think.
Sure, yeah.
If we were going to fence, we would fence more of it and actually make use of a fence for the benefit of the boundary, as well as the benefit of our yard and hopefully our dog. I think because a fence is a major expense as well. So I think we would want it to serve more than one purpose.
Oh, certainly. And as far as, fence elsewhere on your property, that's entirely outside of the commission's purview. And, to the extent we can just make the wording here so that it's amenable to you and doesn't interfere with, your choice of fence or whatever. That's what I would like to see happen.
Okay. I think that would be preferred.
I'm not into bad looking fences. Don't worry.
No.
I want the property to look nice.
Also,
So can I just one more question? So the fence, just to be clear, where the fence is going that we're talking about would be on the boundary of the conservation land?
it would be within our own property. It wouldn't be on the conservation land, because that's not land that we own.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And but that would that limit your access to be able to continue to maintain the area of the encroachment?
Well, if anything, we would cease maintaining it to letting it revert to its natural state, which I believe is the Conservation Commission's intent all along.
Okay. Oh, right. Oh, sorry. Because we're talking about doing this at the time when you sell the house, not now. Right. Got it. Okay.
I guess that's a question. Like, I think, I'm not looking to put a fence in tomorrow, but could we put a fence in anytime between now and God knows when we sell? I mean, bringing up a later point in the document, like, this literally happened to our neighbor 2 doors down. He got a job offer at his company to go open the Raleigh-Durham office, and their house is on the market the next day. Good timing with the market real estate. Like, it's a real thing, and I'm not suggesting that will happen, but I don't know if I'm going to sell my house tomorrow or 20 years from now. So I can't really say when, are we interested in putting in a fence, particularly because, to help with this? Yes. Are we looking to put in a fence in this year? No. Are we looking to wait 20 years? Probably not that either. I will be very forthright about it, but I don't have like a detailed plan for it.
The only timeline mentioned in here is that it says equivalent physical barrier as approved by the Conservation Commission prior to the sale of licensee's home.
Yep.
So that leaves it wide open. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Also, just for clarity, I'm sorry, I should probably know, who is Krista Collins? What's Krista Collins' role?
Excuse me, she's She works for Sudbury Valley Trustees.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I just wasn't sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. So, yeah, of course, they're the holders of the conservation restriction. And I will say in our experience with Sudbury Valley Trustees, their goal in these relationships also is reasonableness. That's the experience that we've had so far.
Okay.
Where are we?
Thanks, Ben.
5B, the improved area. Okay, and want to look at 5B. Okay, so reading through your comments, the Belniaks, I don't think there is any disagreement here. This is.
I think the way we interpreted this is you're saying don't further disturb the land. If you do want to do something to it, any plantings need to be either native or need to be approved by you. My response or email response to Melissa prior to this was that we don't have any intention of further disturbing it or putting in new plantings. If anything, it's just a hands off. Like we don't want to have to go through this again, to be quite honest.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. So that's 5C, and 5B immediately above it.
Oh.
It just says that the parcel will stay pretty much as it was when during the baseline survey, which is just when one of Krista's employees walked the perimeter and made notes about its condition.
Can you help clarify what the position was about taking things out? So before the town bought it, when the Hallorans owned it, when we thought it was ours, we did re-landscape the island. We didn't change the shape or size of the island in any way, but we put a few additional shrubs in there. Is it possible to just take them out and put them back on our portion of the island? Does it matter? I'm just curious. I'm not going to lose any sleep over this. It's like a couple of shrubs, but I was just wondering what your preference was.
I can't see any problem with that, Krista. Does that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think Melissa and I both kind of caught on this paragraph because it was like, on the one hand, it was saying it has to stay like it is in the baseline. On the other hand, we didn't want to limit the ability to remove things or add other native plants. I mean, so
I think we would just be removing what we eventually removing what we put that's on the technically on like the pie slice size piece of that island that we ended up putting a few extra shrubs in.
So essentially reverting it to pre-Belniak ownership just prior to Halloran Belniak sale.
Sure. Yeah. I think that makes sense. We don't, the intent is not that nothing at all can happen there.
Okay.
Okay. Number 6. It seems pretty straightforward. Any changes, and it sounds like none are planned or anticipated, but any changes that occur to you through the years, do you think you want to make? I wish there was a way to break out, so it just references substantive changes. I mean,
right. My wife's part about legalese, like any changes just seems like really all encompassing and not to our advantage. Not that this needs to be our advantage, but this is worded very strongly to the Concom's and SVT's advantage.
I agree.
Yeah, I thought this was a little confusing too upon reading it again, because I think the way I'd interpreted it the first time was that changes to the area meant the boundaries of the area, but that's not permitted anyway. So again, we're not talking about wanting, a complete prohibition on any activity in the area.
Right, and all the likely changes are addressed in number 5 above. I mean, plantings and so forth. I'm sorry, Krista, you're cutting out.
And so maybe we could just take that out. Do we want to be, having to respond to something or take a shrub away?
I'm sorry, Chris, you're cutting in and out. It sounded like you're saying it might be okay to remove number 6 in its entirety. Is that correct?
I think that would be fine with us. And just so I'm sure which number 6 is. That's the one that said SVT has to approve changes to the area. Yeah, we don't need that. No.
Okay. Great. Wish they were all that easy. Okay, number 7, standard language.
My only comments was to put back in the negligence or just as it is standard.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Just trying to see what my comment is. I think is we agree that if we blatantly, then I can't see the rest of the comment I made. It's the one above it.
Oh, sorry.
It's the one below it. Yeah, right there. Yep. Right. What I was trying to get at here was, it's pretty clear that we're not supposed to put plants that don't belong there. I'm using non-legalese, just using regular layman's terms. It's clear that we can't disrupt it really any more than we've already done. We can't put a septic system there. We can't put a corner of a pool there. Totally get it. But what I was getting at was, what if we just inadvertently do something that's by mistake? What I don't want is someone coming down and raining fury on us for something that we just was, oh, whoops, sorry, we didn't know that. That's why I was trying to get out of negligence or willful misconduct. Like we know we're doing something wrong, we do it anyway. Of course, we should be penalized. But the negligence part was like, oops, we're sorry, we didn't know. That's a piece I'm just trying to prevent us from ever. Yeah. As much as I like talking to you, I'd be very happy to never talk about this again, right? So I just want to make sure we get things squared away. So neither one of us ever have to really, step on each other's toes. That was
Melissa, I guess I would be, inclined to just remove negligence and leave it at willful misconduct. And if Aldo has trouble with it, he'll put it back, I guess.
So is this a liability situation where, one of these things where someone is wandering on one of the properties and slips and falls sort of thing, or?
Well, ironically, sorry. No, in this case, negligence is almost kind of what we want because we want it to grow back. So in that sense, it does make sense to remove it if that's the way you also want to think about it.
Yeah.
I think the willful misconduct, yes, if the Belknap's were to come and I don't know what you could possibly do to it, but it's more the negligence is if we wanted them to maintain something and they all of a sudden stopped, but really that's the end goal in this case.
Yeah. And to answer, Jeff, your question, it's arising out of, related to, or in connection with any failure on the part of the licensee to comply with any provision or term required to be performed under this license, to summarize. So it's not if somebody walks through the parcel and trips, it's if they dig a big pit and don't put a fence around it and somebody falls into that, or something along those lines. I think is what it's trying to get at in just the clunkiest, most impenetrable language possible.
Ben, I think there might be an actual term, like what is it, wanton negligence, that refers to what you just described, like leaving a string of barbed wire at ankle height or something like that. There might actually be and we could, what we could look at is there's the state statute that limits liability to homeowners who let the public on their land.
Yeah.
I think that the phrase is used in that.
Okay. And I think, that would also, be covered under willful misconduct, I would think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But isn't the difference action versus lack of action? Willful misconduct versus wanton negligence. But
If I can make a suggestion, perhaps we strike negligence and then verbally communicate to Aldo what we were trying to summarize this evening, and then have him come up with what the appropriate words would be. I think we're in agreement with what we're hoping to be put in. I think we just need the proper legal language to reflect that versus what
Okay.
kind of looks like a copy paste from a standard document, because much like Melissa said, negligence doesn't really apply here.
Yeah. So that sounds great. Is that fine with everybody on the commission?
Because I think Aldo's going to need to see this again anyway with all of these red lines. So
I think so. I think so. And one question procedurally, Krista, it's my understanding that this license is a copy will be held by the Belniacs, a copy by the town, and a copy by SVT. But that's it. It's not going to EOEEA or anything like that. It's not subject to state review. It's just an agreement between the three parties.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we just wanted to make sure it was agreed upon before we finalize and record the CR.
Great. Okay, great. Okay, so that was number 7. We're up to number 8.
So I think this one, we kind of hashed through an email a little bit between myself and the Belniacs, explaining that this is more so talking about that the town is not responsible if the Belniacs equipment breaks on this specific area that's town owned.
Yeah, that's
explained like that, it makes more sense. But our initial reading of it, and like I shared with Melissa in an email, both my wife and I read this independently because we're busy working, and we both arrived at the same conclusion. It just sounds, the way it initially read was that it didn't come across that way. So the way you explained it makes sense, but that's not how it read.
With that understanding now, are you generally okay with the?
I think so, because again, we don't intend on doing any work really within that land because it's not ours. If anything, as my wife said, we would probably just seek to transplant any sort of plantings we've done since the time we owned the property elsewhere. And then otherwise, I mean, literally just hands off.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, number 9. Let me see.
So if you could describe what is meant by continued right for public access, maintain and repair, and all other public purposes. That seems a bit, well.
Yeah. I guess I understand what it's trying to get at. I'm just not sure how appropriate it is in this situation. As we are with this license, we're trying to preserve your use of the property while you remain in the house.
Mm-hmm.
As part of the CR, are we allowed to prevent public access?
No.
So if we don't have that line, that implies that we're not letting the public access this place, which has a CR. Is that allowed? Maybe it's something to do with that.
I think typically what the CR would say is that public access is allowed subject to rules and regulations, promulgated by the grantor, in this case, the town. And then it would be limited to trails, existing or planned trails. So it, practically speaking, there's no reason anyone would go wandering into this corner of the conservation land. I'm wondering if what Aldo was trying to do there was just if there's some, if the town has a legal responsibility not to grant like an exclusive use to the Belniacs, and maybe that's why he put it in there. But practically speaking, yeah, you could, the town could post the land so that visitors were required to stay on trails, and then the trails wouldn't go anywhere near this part of the conservation land.
Ben?
So,
Yes.
Ben, I kind of read this as the Belniaks are not allowed to tell people to get off this little piece of property if they happen to wander onto it. It's still public property. I think that's the
Yeah.
reminder that it still is public property.
Yep.
And if somebody wanders onto it, it's something of a joke, but you can't come out and yell, "Get off my lawn," right?
What we're concerned about, Carl, to extend your point, is if someone is in the back of that land, approaches our current private residence, that land is a little bit of kind of up in the air, right? Because it looks like it's our land, but it is town land, and they continue to walk onto our land.
Yeah.
Is that so? Like that's why we would just that's why public purposes of that piece of land, of course, it's public property. And I just wanted to understand how the access is going to be. We certainly wouldn't want a public walking trail up our driveway
Right.
to get to that land. So that land would be accessible through other means for sure. So
I don't think this allows us to put any kind of trail onto your land. It just,
okay,
Yeah, this is in no
Good.
way is extending our ability onto your property.
Like, it just
This
needs
is
to be
just in
recorded.
reference to the encroachment area itself, and
Okay.
that the town still holds the ability and possession of this area, and we're just granting you this license.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
I think that just needs to be reworded. It's
Yeah.
not, I think the fact that none of us quite got it
Right.
Yeah.
points out that it's maybe a little vague.
I mean, frankly, I think we should be silent on the issue of the right to public access. And this is sort of an addenda to the conservation restriction, and we could just simply, the licensor reserves the continued right to maintenance and repair and
Point.
all other public purposes as, described within the conservation restriction. And then just leave it at that.
I think, right, he meant to tag on to the first sentence, and hence why it's starting with accordingly, that because this is a revocable license and full possession remains with the town, therefore the town reserves the right to continue public access.
Yeah, I agree with Ben. I don't think the sentence is needed if this is an attachment to the CR. The CR is the governing document, correct?
Yeah.
This would just be repetitive and potentially confusing.
Anybody else in the commission have a strong feeling on this? My idea was just to sort of stay silent on the right to public access. Or yeah, actually, Melissa has an even better idea. Okay. Sounds like that works. Number 10. Where are we here? I don't understand this.
It's two of
I'm
us.
sure there's a legal reason for it, but
again, to me, this comes across as likely a copy paste from a document where this would apply, and this wasn't removed for this particular instance because it just doesn't seem like it does apply here, which is why I was, out of pure curiosity. It wasn't a jab at all. There was more. I don't know how this is even possible because we don't own the land. So again, and to the point of removing obfuscation and confusion, perhaps it makes best sense to strike it. I don't know.
yeah, if it's not a record of property ownership, I don't think you're allowed to record it in the registry. I think you can, if you
Right.
try to record it, I think you can actually get a fine for
Right.
recording something that's not related to the ownership or transfer of land. I guess, should we just send a question to Aldo, do we even need this? I don't understand what problem it's even trying to solve.
I think, Ben, to your point, that if it's recorded unlawfully, then the license is no longer valid.
Right. I'm not sure if it says that in this section or elsewhere, but I do remember reading that if you do that, then it nullifies it. Yeah, I see. I'm sorry. End of the section right here. Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
So this was added by the Belniaks before, this part about recording it. So this is just stating that it cannot be recorded. And if it is recorded, then this license may be automatically revoked or rescinded. So these
So
were.
how about for number 10, just the part at the top highlighted in pink, the licensee shall not record this revocable license, the Worcester Registry of Deeds, period. In the event this provision is breached and this license is recorded, then this license may be revoked. And just have those two sentences and
Skip all the stuff in the middle.
Yeah, the stuff in the middle is just an explanation of why they don't want it recorded.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah.
It's illegal, it's not happening. I
does
agree.
that sound okay with everybody? Okay.
Hold on.
Um,
Okay, and then this goes back in.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Works. Okay, moving along to 11. Yeah,
This may have
so
been whether or not there's going to be 2 parties or 3 parties, whether or not SVT was going to be signing or not. Melissa, I think you talked about that at one point. It was 3, then it's down to 2. So if it's 3, it's 3. If it's 2, it's 2. Just whatever just needs to make
Okay.
sense. That's all.
So Melissa, it's going to be an agreement between the Belniaks and the town of Southborough,
And that's it.
and that's it. Okay, and obviously a copy to SB2.
Correct.
Easy enough. Number 13. Yeah, that's okay. 14. Oh, this thing, Lord Almighty.
So my suggestion was possibly just stopping at after A.
Do we need to add a provision for Pony Express?
Yeah, I mean,
And nothing's going to happen here where it needs to be overnighted to anybody. This is, registered or certified mail, return receipt. Oh, geez, Louise. I agree with Melissa's after A, but also in the clunkiest way possible, it allows the use of email,
Yeah, I don't know.
which should be the go-to for anything. Just we send an email to each other and resolve whatever has come up.
Yeah, I think my takeaway was let's get rid of facsimile because no one's going to use that. And if we want to use email and we have to communicate that through registered mail, let's make that one time, because if we have to do registered mail every time to say we're going to send you an email, we're just going to use registered mail to contact you. It just doesn't make any sense, right? So we can cut this down by 2/3 by what we were just talking about.
I want to make sure I'm following the end result.
Yeah, I know. I think
Is there any reason we even need to specify how the writing is communicated?
Thank
I
you.
mean, can we just say in writing?
it's good to have a record by certified mail receipt to state by either them or the commission that they sent it. If anything does happen, it is good to have that tracking number that someone signed for it.
In your email, you don't have a tracking mechanism in your email?
So if someone never opens it, then you don't get a notification. So someone could just delete it. I can get something that I sent it, but not that they opened it or anything.
Can I, just one thing that occurs to me, the very first sentence, all notices and other communications to be given in connection with this agreement. There's a lot of communication that may or may not take place that is just informal. How about communications to be given as required by this agreement, so that, if the Belniaks just have a question and want to pick up the phone and call Melissa, they don't need to send a certified letter memorializing that.
Thank you, because I think what that's going to do is it's going to, if anything, it's going to hamper communications between us and you if we do have questions, because I'm not going to go to the post office to send registered mail each and every single time I want to make a simple inquiry.
Nor
So-
would any sane person. Yeah.
But, I mean, to the point earlier, if you make no specification about the type of acceptable means of communication, you can still use registered mail. Then you could use anything else. I mean, there would be nothing to prevent you if you wanted that reassurance that it had been received. But anyway.
That brings up a good point.
Well, I think to Melissa's point is that, and I'm going to say this in layman's terms, if we have general inquiries back and forth about what does something mean or what have you, okay, then perhaps we can use typical modern means, email, telephone, what have you. But if there's a question about a request to alter this or something like that, something that's going to require, we need to make sure that someone received and opened and read it, then yeah, certified mail is the way to go, because it certifies, quite literally, that that someone received this, that no one can claim that they didn't get it. So I think what we need to maybe, Ben, to your point, is in that first section is talk about those required, or I don't want to say legal, but something like those more weighty sort of discussion and communication points versus just general.
Required for approvals.
Or something.
Yes.
So communications that are required for approvals, do we just want to leave it at certified mail, end of story?
Approvals sort of is in one direction. If the Belniaks are sending a request to the town, whatever, I think there's some other cases where notice has to be given in some fashion. But just notices and other communications to be given as required by this agreement. No, all notices and other substantive communications to be given as required by this agreement. So that just doesn't rule out informal, hey, we were thinking about this, Yeah.
So how do you want this to read again?
All notices and other substantive communications to be given as required under this agreement.
This license.
Instead,
Excuse me.
License.
Are there communications required under the license?
yes.
Not many, but a couple of things.
I guess, yeah, notification of sale of property, things like that.
Yeah. Which
Anything.
communications the communications are required by this agreement. Okay.
Does it make more sense to put formal in front of communications? All notices and sensitive discussions in which formal communications are required?
I'm frankly fine either way. But if it reads better to others, then by all means.
I mean, I put formal in the same category as substantive. Between you and I know exactly what that means, but in the court of law, will they know what that means? And maybe a judge or an attorney of some sort could make a good determination of it. So I think that's either is fine or both is fine.
All right, so we'll leave that as it is then. So do we then want to get rid of the discussion about electronic mail and just leave it to sent by mail addressed to such party?
I don't think it hurts to have it in there, but the idea of sending an email, the idea of instead of sending a certified letter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email. Then I'm going to go send a certified letter saying that I sent the email. It just it strikes me as a little.
Yes, this was the reaction I had when I first read this. It seemed very copy paste from something of decades ago.
So I think if it's left in there, it's simply something that nobody will ever do ever. But I don't think its presence necessarily hurts anything.
Yeah, I think we're getting wrapped around the axle between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law is that we're going to do the right things to communicate things that are really important. We're going to use certified mail to make sure everyone who's supposed to receive it actually received it, and we have proof. That's the spirit of the law, and we are in agreement with that. The letter of the law here is we're documenting which specific kinds of communication, facsimile, email, and it's just.
Yeah.
Do we really need to send a copy certified mail and then also send one first class mail? What is the point of sending 2 copies? In number A, letter A, sorry. Late, long day at work.
United States Post.
So this is just sending it regular mail and return copy. So do you want to get rid of this?
Simultaneously
I just don't see the point in sending it
first class.
twice. We're talking about sending multiple copies of the same thing several times throughout this paragraph. So if we're sending a certified
Yeah,
mail, I don't know why we would also send a first class version. What does that accomplish?
There we go. It's taken out. It's taken out. Okay.
Right, where do we stand with this one?
You know what? If somebody wants to send an email and a certified letter, you know, then they're welcome to it. Yes.
Are we talking about the or condition or the maybe?
So this electronic transmission, if confirmed orally or in writing by mail or overnight courier service, as aforesaid. So
Yeah, it goes, it's kind of funny. Yeah, you can send electronic, but you still need to mail it, right? So it's just certified mail, period.
Yes, I think if it's for formal or substantive.
I have a suggestion to word it because I understand what you're saying. So the first part, shall be in writing and shall be sent by, take out the A, shall be sent by United States Postal Service, registered certified mail, return receipt, postage be paid, period. Okay, there's no A here anymore. Next sentence, go past all your strikes and where electronic starts. A copy of the communication may also be furnished. So it's a copy. May also be furnished via anything. May also be furnished via any means you want. But
yeah,
it's not
electronic.
copy. Yeah, if you want to send a carrier pigeon, go right ahead. Is that
Perfect.
helpful?
That works. It's certainly more clear too. Yeah. All right, does that wrap up number 14? I think so. Oh, no, 14 continues.
We're just suggesting that,
Oh, okay.
you know, God forbid you guys lose Melissa. We do this
Yeah.
all the time at work. We do not name the person, we name the role. Just a suggestion.
Mhm.
But you're free to do whatever you want.
I would just take us out, just say Conservation Commission, it'll come to whoever's in the office.
Yeah, and it'll get there. Okay, so the rest of it is just about if mailing addresses change. I don't think we.
How about, well, it still mentions some of that other loveliness. So how about notice shall be given as outlined above?
Should we get, yeah.
Well, does this even apply in this? I mean, we're literally living here. Like, it's kind of moot for this particular document.
If the title moves or something, so it's for both sides. So if my office was suddenly to move, then we would also have to let you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at some point, we would love your office to have to move to a place with more room, honestly. Okay. So number 15.
And I believe,
okay. This is just about not being transferable.
And I believe that Exhibit A, and I'm waiting for final confirmation, is that survey plan that the Belniaks provided, which would be this. And if it's anything different, then I would obviously let you know. But it wasn't attached when Aldo sent back his review. So this is what I'm assuming it is going to be.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had that feeling, but without seeing it, it would be very hard to agree to this, not knowing what Exhibit A actually is.
Yes, I would agree.
16 is straightforward.
Do we want to go over the Belniak's question on 15 about the underlying purpose, it being conservation land?
I don't understand why we're talking about the underlying purpose when this is really just, my understanding is this is just about saying that the license is not transferable to a subsequent property owner. I mean, whatever the purpose of the land is, that's sort of the essence of the agreement, that it's not transferable.
Precisely, that middle section can be struck because it doesn't make a difference what the land is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, and the other part of it, we've discussed that in really in excruciating detail up in the area of like number 5 and so forth, what can and can't be done there, and what the town's rights remain in it and so forth. I feel like that's already been more than adequately addressed. What, anybody else in the commission have any feeling on this?
Agreed. Strike the first
Right.
half.
Yeah, if anything, it mires it. It makes it more confusing.
Yeah.
Super confusing.
So I got rid of the whole first sentence.
Perfect. Okay, so, 16, straightforward, 17. In the simple majority of, I didn't understand this when I read it.
So I think
Yeah,
this one was added by Alan.
Right. So let me just reread it to refresh my
Yeah.
memory. Right. So my question is in the public interest, but like what's defined as the public? If one member of the public says something, does that mean that's the public interest? Or does it have to be
oh,
2 members? I mean, if Joe Q. Citizen, he's a member of the public, doesn't like this, does that mean that's public interest? Or is it the majority of the public, like the overwhelming half the populace of Southborough?
yeah,
Because if things about this piece of land can be decided by one vote or by one person,
right.
it's a little bit.
So I think what this is actually saying is that the town reserves the right to revoke if there's something in conflict with the public interest, in terms of not one person of the general public coming out and saying, you know, we don't like this, but if there was something detrimental that were to be happening on this property that came up within 90 days that we didn't realize before, which seems strange.
Listen.
Yep.
Kyle, I think the question they're bringing up is, you know, who determines that? Would that be the Conservation Commission? Right. That
Right,
would-
not specified. Yeah, if we
Right.
could specify who determines, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. That's more what I was getting after is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that-
yeah, and just the idea, the term of the public interest, it's pretty loosey-goosey, you know.
Yeah, just take it out. You reserve the right to review, revoke, or rescind it.
Because the Concom owns land and SVT is, I guess, the like executor. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but I believe then if that's the case, then between you two parties, you would determine what is or isn't okay there.
Yeah, I got, so now I'm reading 17 and I don't understand the point of it. Why would you review, why would you grant it if you were just gonna revoke it at any time?
So this actually, if you read the whole thing, it's talking about if you fail to respond or help us come to a resolution at any time, that this reserves the right for us to revoke or rescind the license, given that we have attempt to resolve this issue that's happened, that, you know, that's been created on the land. So this isn't just, it's not at any time within 90 days of the execution of this. It's at 90 days that we give you notice that there's something wrong and that you have not attempt to resolve any issues. And that gives us the right to then revoke this license because it's been 90 days of essentially non-compliance.
Okay, so just, I think I know where you're going. So just to clarify, so within those 90 days, let's say at day 80, we, I don't know, I'm making up a number here for a reason, but bear with me. We sought another opinion or we got a bid to fix whatever it needed to do, and that took 20 days. So
Yep.
now we're 100 days out. Does that mean?
Well, at 80 days, you attempted to resolve it.
Okay, so as long as we did something within that 90-day window, then okay.
I think
As
this
long
is,
as communication is
I may
open.
make a suggestion on the language again. I think it's just written backwards. I think if you can start with parties shall work in good faith to attempt to resolve any issues before any action, blah, blah, blah. If that is not, if that action is not taken within 90 days, licensor then reserves the right to do blah, blah, blah. It's just not clear.
I like that a lot better.
Yes, okay.
Until I work with contracts a lot.
Parties shall attempt resolution of any issues.
I would just take I would cut and paste the bottom, put it
Okay.
up top. So sorry, I'm just trying to save you time, Melissa.
No, that's okay.
So take the stuff in pink. Yeah. Just in pink.
Just this one.
Just
Sorry, it takes the whole thing because the comment. Okay.
no worries. So you can just say, the party shall attempt good faith resolution. I'm throwing in good faith for Aldo here. Of any issues before action of revocation or rescission. Sorry, I really need readers and I don't wear them. Is taken. And then period. And then and then the next one you would cut and paste up would be if at any time after 90 days, just cut and paste it up and then we'll edit it.
9 days.
It's a new sentence once you get it up there. If at any time after 90 days, written notice. Okay, so here's what I'm trying to say, and I think it just needs to reword it again, is that
Sorry. I think there's the if goes after license.
Yeah.
It's the licensor reserves the right to renew, revoke, or rescind this license if at any time after 90 days.
A comma after licensee, symbol, a comma, and then it picks up with licensor reserves the right.
I'm sorry, you kept cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. So after the word licensee, a comma,
Okay.
and then everything is deleted. Provided, however, is deleted. Yeah, that's deleted. And then licensor reserves the right to review, revoke, or rescind this license.
That might work.
Okay.
Does that read?
You need something with the if. It's if at any time after 90 days written notice to the licensee, they fail to reach an agreement or something.
Right. Yes. Thank you. That's what I was going for before. Thank you.
Or there is no resolution or some such thing.
Yeah. So after the word licensee, before licensor, there is no resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No mutually agreeable resolution can be found or some such.
Yep.
There you go.
Actually, I think we've gotten away from the spirit of what this is now. Are we looking for resolution or attempt? Because I don't think we're necessarily looking for final resolution. I think we're looking for an effort.
Yeah, documented effort within the 90-day window to say we're going to do something.
Right.
Because if we just say it has to be resolved, that gets to the point I was making earlier. What if at day 80 we try to do something and we get a bid and it takes 20 days, 30 days to get a response? Well, now we're outside of our initial 90-day window.
I couldn't get a tree guy out the last storm to save my life. I don't know about you guys. Then you bought a chainsaw and you chopped it up yourself. True story. Next to our mailbox.
Okay.
That work?
I think so. Thank you.
Okay.
Will look better once I accept and delete.
And everyone needs to read it again to make sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be a word missing somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a terrible typer, Melissa, so
Yeah.
all my documents are missing words.
And then 18, it looks like there's a comment off to the side. I can't see what it is though.
Just a question for me. Does this effectively state the term, which I think it does? Because I think the very first draft of the CR, there was a limit of 10 years or 15 years or something, but now it looks like we've effectively agreed upon until we are no longer the owners. I just want to make sure that was the case, because nowhere, I think the word term is used in here earlier, but nowhere is the term actually stated though.
Yeah. Do we want to move this up to the top?
I don't know that it really matters where it is.
Yeah, just as long as the term is clearly defined.
So what is the term here? Is it that it shall not lapse, or is it that it will shall lapse after some time not defined here?
it's clunky wording, but it lapses upon the sale of the property unless it happens beforehand because of a disagreement or something like that.
Ah, I see.
Right, like if we
So
violated
the-
something out that 90-day window or what have you, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So, yes, I guess in normal English, the unless would be at the end of the sentence,
Yeah.
but yes.
Uh,
Hi, this is Krista. Is there some,
We lost you, Krista.
I thought there was a the towns were not allowed to grant more than an annual license and it had to be renewed.
That was actually one of my questions in the email to Melissa was, I know earlier on, there had been talk about a renewal process, but.
Yeah, and I did ask him and he didn't seem to say that it was
Okay.
needed to be done every year. But I will double check again about that.
Okay.
Scrolling.
And if he comes back and says that it is needed, we can simply put in that, the renewal of the license will not be unreasonably withheld by the town, during this period until the sale of the home or whatever. Hopefully it's not necessary.
If we have to do something like this every 365 days, I mean,
Ugh.
Ben, you opened the meeting up. I think, you're reading my mind how what we could have done in 3 sentences, we somehow did in 7 pages. If we have to do something, even a fraction of this once a year, I think we're really, really, really moving away from the intent of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. It strikes me that Aldo was okay. His original first draft of it mentioned a 10-year window or something like that. So
Well, that was the CR, not the revocable license, correct?
okay. Is that
Correct.
okay?
And that was, I think, at the suggestion, I think we as the commission have been going back and forth. And then in the last comment to Aldo, we said just the sale of the home, period. And that's what he put in here. So that makes me believe that this is a one and done.
Then let's see what he says and hope for the best there. So we've gone through the whole license, and then there was one mention of the license within the CR itself. Is that something we need to go through this evening? Melissa, this was on page 5 of the CR.
Right.
Oh, you're on mute, Melissa.
I don't think so, but let me just pull it up and I'll just show you guys just to show you. I think we resolved to what we needed.
Okay.
It's loading, sorry. There it is. Sorry for scrolling fast. I don't want to give anyone a headache. Okay.
So there we are. Yep. Number 10. I just happened to see the edits and that it referred to the license.
Yeah, so we really, there was kind of some back and forth between revert and restore. And that's kind of why we deferred to the license in discussing this, and that as long as they cease mowing before the sale of the home, that's what we would consider restored.
Perfect.
Okay. Is Exhibit D here? Would that be the same as, would that be the revocable license, or would Exhibit D be the Exhibit A, which is the survey?
Yes. Yep. So that's Exhibit D, which is the survey.
Okay.
A question?
Yes.
Back to that item 10, there's something in there about, now, is that still in about the 50 years after the effective date? There's a time limit in there.
You're right. Yeah, right there.
We don't really, that doesn't
Thank
agree.
you. Shall expire.
Sale of the prop or something other than 50 years.
When the property of 5 Bellswell Lane is sold.
Upon the sale of the home is what it
Yep.
should say. There you go.
We expect you'll be here more than 50 years.
I don't know that I'll be alive in 50 years.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You never know.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Carl.
So I think we've covered everything here. We're obviously we're going to wait for feedback from Aldo, which hopefully will be very minimal. And then, but I guess I'd say I don't expect anything substantive. That and if that is the case, if there's nothing substantive, I think we just have an item on one of our regularly scheduled meetings, vote to accept it, and Melissa would coordinate us all signing it. And once we've signed it, and you folks, the Belniaks have signed it, it's a done deal. Finally.
And I presume, Melissa, you'd let us know when that meeting happens, just so we can be present for it, as you.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I would expect that when we do go to approve this, there probably would be no discussion, hopefully, because everything will have hashed out in the meantime. But you know, when I get any draft back from Aldo, I'll send it off to you too as well, just so we're all on the same page. And I'll send, once I clean up this version, I'll send this to you as well.
Great. Thank you.
Maybe we can sign the CR at the same meeting.
Yeah.
That would be great. That would be great.
Delicious.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. The Belniaks, thank you so much for your patience. I'm sorry this has been such a painful process. It seems like the end is finally in sight, and then we never have to think about it again.
That's our hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Krista, thank you so much for coming this evening.
All right. Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay.
All right. Good night.
Good
Have a good
night.
night.
Bye-bye.
So Melissa pointed
Great
out
job,
that we have,
Ben.
excuse me. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. Very focused.
Yes. That was good.
Yeah, boy, surprised how convoluted this whole thing got. It seemed so easy when we started off. Anyhow, Melissa pointed out earlier today, she sent me a text that there's a certificate of completion that we could act on this evening. It sounds like it'll just take a couple minutes of our time and will help out the sale of a property.
Yes, this is just an invalid certificate of compliance for 5 Wells Lane under 290-761. It was previously issued. They just need a new copy to get recorded at the registry because their house is closing. So I found the copy and I just need a new original. So if you guys would make a vote to re-sign, I think you will make 2 families very, very happy.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We got somebody in any comment? Oh, I never solicited comment. If somebody in the public wants to make a comment, we'd love to hear it and we'll redo the motion. Okay, hearing none. Melissa, would you do the honors?
It's Sam is watching us.
Only Sam. Yeah.
He's keeping
Right.
us on our toes.
All right, roll call. So Watson,
Yes.
Pete,
Yep.
Geyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. That's super helpful.
Great. And one more important order of business. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Melissa?
Watson,
Yes.
Pete.
Yep.
Geyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
All right, we adjourned. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks,
Night.
everybody. Have a good night.
See you next week.
See you then.
Good luck with Aldo.
Oh, thank you. He's
Safe
getting knee
travel.
surgery, so I don't know how speedy this is going to be.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Safe travels, Melissa.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
I'll be
right.
out next week.
Have fun.
What? Keep